Welcome back. Now, you probably remember our guest as a 16-year-old on Pop Idol alongside Will Young and Gareth Gates. But behind the scenes, Zoe Birkett was battling a lifelong health condition. At 16, Zoe Birkett shot to fame when she finished 4th on the first series of Pop Idol. Since then, she's gone on to have a successful music career and go on tour. But behind the scenes, Zoe was battling a painful health condition, severe osteoarthritis. The pain of her bones grinding together became so unbearable that she couldn't tie her own shoelaces. Aged just 35, Zoe had a complete hip replacement, one of the youngest people in the country to have the operation. And now, after learning to walk again, there is nothing stopping Zoe as she's back on stage doing what she loves. Brilliant. Please welcome Zoe Birkett. Welcome, Zoe. It's just the most extraordinary story because we see you perform. You're this powerhouse on stage, and no one would ever really know what you've been through. And this is from being very young. In fact, you'd really sort of pains as you were growing up. It was put down to just growing pains, but it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. I mean, throughout my whole life, I've never known my life not be in pain. But I think being from the northeast is where you kind of just get on with it, don't we? We carry on, we crack on. And since I was 6 months old, I was starting to kind of walk on my tiptoes. Then at 13, my hip came out the socket and I had to have 3 pins put into my hip. And again, being young, but I had dreamed of being a performer, being a dancer. The dream was to be a backing dancer for Britney Spears. That was the dream. I was like, I want to dance for Britney. When the surgeon told me that, everything, it shattered. It shattered my whole world.
They said you wouldn't dance.
They said
like
I would never
ever again.
Never, ever again. And I had the pins in for around 18 months. But in that time, I found a love for singing and acting as well.
Was that down to your mum? Because your mum gave you that, didn't she? Took you down a different route.
Yeah, my mum used to take me. So my dad did all my dancing stuff, and my mum used to take me singing and piano. And so we used to get on a bus because my mum didn't drive. So from one side of the northeast to the other, get on 3 buses, and I'd have classical singing lessons over in Middlesbrough. And then we found out that actually I was a better singer than I was a dancer, but I still had that passion for dance as well. Yeah. I had the pins removed. Even then, I was in so much pain. And it wasn't really until I fell pregnant and I was carrying this excess weight that actually the surgeons initially said to me, just so you're aware, you won't be able to have a natural labour. That was the first bit of shock for me. It's like, OK, they said, because of your hip problems in the past, we're going to have to give you a natural planned C-section. I said, OK. The whole experience was amazing, but again, that was taken out of my hands due to my hips, because if I was to push, I would have had to have an emergency C-section anyway. And then after my pregnancy, again, it was just unbearable. I was feeling so much clunking. The pain was so severe. My back was giving way. And then in the pandemic, obviously, all the NHS was just swamped and things were closed. I went for a private scan and they revealed that I had severe bone-on-bone osteoarthritis. I was like, well, what does that mean?
I mean, that's something that is normally associated with older people, isn't it? Because our very own Janet's just come back from a hip hop, but you were only 35.
35. One of the youngest in the country, and I know since sharing my story, loads of other youngsters, and I mean, juvenile arthritis is now huge in the UK.
I was just going to say, so it's over 10 million people in the UK have arthritis. Around 15,000 of them are children and young people.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, debilitating for a young, active child is sporting and music, all of the things that you want your children to do, and they can't because it's too painful. But like you say, then you're at 35, middle of the pandemic, you go, I can't do this anymore. I have to take the next step.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was the double hip.
Yeah, so I had a full, it's called, and you can have 2 different hip replacements. There's a posterior hip replacement through the back, and I had the anterior hip replacement, which was through the front, which just has a lot more flexibility for me as a performer. The surgeon was fantastic. I would always say, go and get a second opinion. I went to a few different surgeons, and they said this one would be a speedier recovery for me. It'd be much more flexible with the wear and tear for the job that I do in the roles that I want to play, and that's the thing for me. I'm not a singer who just stands and sings. I love to move, you know, I love doing all the choreography. And that was my main question to my surgeon. 1, if I get this major thing done, am I going to be pain-free, for a start? 2, am I going to be able to do all the roles that I want to do and that I've dreamed of doing? Showing him videos of the Pussycat Dolls, going, that's the kind of dancing that I do. All that, that's what I do.
And no pressure.
Like, And he was like, so, He was like, yes, you're fine. He was so blasé and very calm. And I was like, surely not. Really all this jumping around and, yeah, fine. I was in for Moulin Rouge at the time in the West End and I had to do can-can kicks and cartwheels. And I said, are you sure I'm going to be okay doing this 8 shows a week? And he said, you'll be absolutely fine. He said, one, even though you are young, you do have youth on your side. You're incredibly fit. Your whole life now will revolve around the gym, which it does. I train 3 or 4 times a week just to maintain strength in my glutes.
How did it feel for you the first time you went back on stage and you were pain-free?
My first... I think rehearsals were hard for me because the first thing, I didn't have anyone to relate to or give me hope as a performer because, one, nobody talks about hip replacements really, and if you do hear about it, again, it is in the elderly. So I'm looking for people online to relate to that me getting this was going to be a success and then I could carry on. And there was nobody there. So all the way through rehearsals of Moulin Rouge, I was panicking and the choreographer's going, get your legs higher, kick, kick, kick. And I'm literally like, okay, thinking, am I going to be all right? And I did the whole 12 months and didn't go off once.
Wow.
And it was the best thing ever. But coming on stage for that first time with my new hip, I wish I got it done years ago.
Really?
Just pain-free, no pain, no medication. And I feel like I've got my whole life back again. It's like,
You're obviously on Tina, which I love.
You love Tina, don't you?
But it's a full-on role, because how many hours are you on stage for during a show?
3 hours.
I mean, and it's non-stop, isn't it?
Non-stop. We never come off.
I've only seen
You can't even get a sip of
6
water.
times.
I heard you're a huge fan. I love that. Well, you know, the Tinas never come off stage at all. So when I said yes to doing the contract, 2 of my things, being a mummy first was, when am I going to go to the toilet? Because I always have a little toy stop here and there, you know, the toilet stop throughout. And they're like, there isn't one. OK, when do I get a sip of water? You'll get 1 at that point, and that's going to last you throughout. I'm like, OK, you're never off stage until the interval.
Have you had any problems since?
Nothing.
Then? Nothing?
Absolutely nothing. And again, you know, the story of Tina, of course, we know her from music, but her life story is just, she had the most incredible life and just broke so many boundaries. And to tell that as well as we can, including the fight scenes, that was something for me. I was thinking, OK, I've got to fall on the floor quite a few times. Am I going to be OK? Again, message my surgeon, I'm doing this. He was like, you'll be absolutely fine. Like, stop panicking. And I think your brain is such a special and powerful thing because everybody who's been by my side has said that I could do it, and I'm doing it, and it's like, emotional.
Sorry, speaking of breaking boundaries, you were on Pop Idol 2002, and you were saying that it was hard for you to get into the musical theatre world. Do you think that that's changed 20-odd years later?
Yes and no. I mean, the industry obviously changes, as you know. It goes in kind of circles, really. So when I left Pop Idol and I went down the singing career, when that wasn't going anywhere for me and I wasn't really happy recording the songs that I was doing, I actually asked to leave my label, and they were very good with me. They said, that's absolutely fine. And I'm a stage school kid, you know, I went to stage school. All I wanted to do was perform every single day. And that wasn't happening when you're in the studio. You kind of sat on a shelf, really, with labels. And just getting back into theatre, auditioning, people were like, well, you're from a reality TV show.
Yeah,
well,
you know.
so we are very lucky because we're going to see you perform in just a minute. We've got competition first, though. Here's Jeff Brazier with all the details. OK, Kelly is very excited for this one. She wants to get involved, don't you? Yes, you do. Right, Colleen is back tomorrow with Charlene, Ida and Linda, but singing us out today. Please welcome back Zoe Birkett and the cast of Tina, the Tina Turner musical.
That's a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost one minute of sleeping, worry about the way the things might have been. Big wheel, keep on turning.